Welcome everyone to a preview of Anno 117 Pax Romana. Welcome to actual gameplay, and I'm gonna start the video with an insanely big thank you to the wonderful Corrales, who did give me full access to his over 3-hour gameplay from an exclusive event in Rome that he's taken part in. I haven't been invited to that one. Because in the past, I've been not too much involved on the channel with Anno, but privately and just from my passion, I did. So we are looking at this game today. I've curated a couple of things, looking at the absolutely stunning graphics of this game. As you can see, we are looking at many of the features that will come with this game. We are going to talk about the UI, we're going to talk about some of the systems, and just how beautiful and atmospheric this game is. So the Anno kind of success story continues. You're basically starting the same way as always, with a villa at the beginning. It's called this time around. The wordings and all the stuff has been done accordingly to one of the most successful eras of the Roman Empire. So it's going to be very beautifully designed around that time frame. There will be, in this game, we've got the chance to play two different ways, the Romanic and the Celtic way. There are two different regions in the game, so most of that is not included yet, but just so you have a bit of a forecast what's going to happen. And as you can tell here at the beginning, I did a bit of a speed cut here, so you understand that there is a very classic kind of start to how Anno starts. You always have to set up your settlement, but this time around you have to follow a certain pattern of fulfilling the needs of your first civilization area. This is the plebeians, and they will actually require certain goods. But this time it's a bit of a different one. You don't require the exact things. You need one or two of four, let's say. So it doesn't really matter how you do it. You also have seen now one of the big changes. You can build diagonal streets, which will give the whole game such a weirdly incredibly big new dynamic. It's odd because it's just one little addition. There is no round path or fully free ones. They're just 45 degrees, but by adding this, the whole game feels a lot more dynamic. As you can see, Corrales also, as he's into theming a lot like I am, and he's one for the beauty buildings, he needs the bushes and stuff to make things look beautiful, and so he started right away with a non-classic efficient approach, which I'm very glad he did, because that showcases what you can do in this game with the path now. And if you build like a zigzag path, it's also a lot more smoothed out this time around. And apparently you need to also give the people access to food. At the very beginning you can do this either with a wheat farm or you can give them fish. If you give the people both things, both different types of foods will actually enable two different traits. So the one thing will make your civilization grow faster, and the other one will give them more efficiency or more taxes to be collected. From the videos I've watched from everyone who has attended this wonderful event, they said the beginning is a little bit more tricky and complicated than usual because the different effects on your people, they weigh harder in terms of money and balance. You will see that also with Corrales. Sometimes it's not as easy at the beginning to get the balance right. So for those of you who've played Anno in the past, it's always been very straightforward at the beginning, making sure you have the, necessarily the things and resources for your people, and make sure you grow fast enough until you are happy with a big positive balance. However, this time around you also need to fulfill certain requirements in order to give different traits to your people. This is also one of the biggest changes in this game. We will get to that later. Public buildings and productions will now have effects on your citizens. So it's not mandatory, or actually, to put it a different way, it's actually now very much required to put some of your facilities and some of your production buildings in your city as well, to give the positive effect that they will have on your citizens to the citizens. So some of the buildings will have a positive effect on health. Some of the buildings will have a positive effect on, let's say, overall goodwill. Another one has a positive effect on collecting taxes and how much money they will spend. So, for example, a bakery in the city later on will have a positive effect because they will get fresh food immediately from over there. While putting a pig stable into the city will have a negative effect, apparently, because it smells and, it makes people more unhealthy or sick very early on. So you have to really balance out these things. But what it does, and you'll see that on a later stage in this video, it also creates a bit of a more dynamic way to build your city, and it's not as repetitive, and you can really make sure you build a city with different needs in it. So that's pretty cool. I included this footage of Keralis building the farm in real time, so you can see you now can also build diagonal farms, which is very cool. I mean, apparently as you have the diagonal pathway, it just makes sense that you can, but you can see how the farms immediately look a little bit different from what you're used to seeing. I'm a huge fan of this change. It may not seem as dramatic, but trust me, for the overall visual appeal of your typical Anno city, that looks very, very neat indeed. Many of the good old things are exactly the same, as you can imagine. Many of the successful implementations of the latest Anno installments, just like 1800, have made its way in here. You've seen that at the beginning. The houses can still be built in groups. You can still copy-paste things. The UI is pretty similar as it was before. The overall production lines are a little bit shortened. There is a way to go for a more evolved production line or a simplistic one, so you can basically change the way how the game plays now, which is a very interesting thing. Apparently, I haven't experienced that myself, but I've watched quite a lot of videos to make sure I see that. Here's another production, by the way. This is now the fisherman's hut. You've seen now how the wheat farm, and the wheat farm produces then not wheat, but it's gone into, I have no idea, is that like rice or so what you get out of it? It's, I don't know, the German word is Schleim or so, I don't know, but it's like something they eat. I don't, obviously, I'm sorry that I don't have all the names. I haven't played it myself, and it was very hard to get all the names in the game, but it's all very much down to what has been usual in the Roman Empire. Later on, wine and so on becomes more relevant for the higher class people. You need to have some other buildings as well. Now you can see there is a hemp farm going to be built over here to produce some clothes, obviously. Makes sense. Also a production line that we are used to knowing. But I personally find it very interesting to go that much back into history. Like until today, or until this game, apparently Anno 1404 was the oldest, so to say, the most back in history. So we are still talking about 13 centuries earlier with the installment of this game, and I cannot say how much I appreciate that. It gives a totally different vibe. However, from the music and so on, I must say I had a very crazy nostalgic feeling, so they nailed the soundtrack again. It's absolutely amazing. I gotta say though, I will include some raw footage later on in this video, so hopefully Keralis is fine with that. He asked me to cut out some of the weird bits. I gotta say, Keralis, if you're watching, there is no such a thing as a weird... I mean, we all know how it is building under pressure of a completely new game. And then also you wanted to create some stuff. But I must say, he did a great job. I loved seeing this. I loved how he tested things out. I think for people having a preview, this is way more valuable than someone who's doing the super efficient, perfect job, because mostly that's not reality, you know? With a new game comes new challenges, and with new challenges, you potentially can find new solutions. So I'm very happy to see how Keralis laid out his area over here. And you can see how he's already making use of the diagonal paths. By the way, this is the market space over here where people gather together. Not sure if that's the market building or like the food building. But it's so cool to have that, and apparently, as you know from the old Anno games, you will need this in a certain area, and then every building has a certain radius in which the effect will apply. So yeah, going on, there are some more buildings, as you can tell over here, for production. This is the sheep farm, giving you another access to clothing. I intentionally put this in here because we've seen the hemp before. Now these are the sheep, and again, these are two ways to fulfill the need for clothing. Again, as I said, in this game you can do a lot, as you can see over here with the villa, the main villa, which is your contour, by the way. You can also apply different effects on it again. As you've seen, Keralis had something in, and this gives the whole island an effect. This applies like in all the old Anno games, and by the way, you have a beautiful day and night cycle, just included that because it looks so beautiful. But as like in all the old Anno games, you now have all these effects that you can put on your island. So sometimes you can even have trades to your island. If there is a fatality missing for a certain good you want to produce, if you get to the trader, which we'll look at in a second, the trader apparently can give you certain things, or from challenges you fulfill, you get certain traits, and then you can put them to your villa and apply them to your island. So for example, higher taxes effect, 10% more efficiency, all these kind of things. By the way, looking beautiful here into upgrading our plebeians into the next into the next area of, or next era, I should say. I don't have all the names at hand right now because I tried to look them up, but that was wrong, definitely. I'm gonna put an info in here how they're called, so you know exactly the 3 different steps that you're having. At the moment, you have 3 different steps, and later on you can also decide whether you go the Roman way or the Celtic way, but that's going to be very interesting to see. In this playthrough over here, we have the Roman way, and yeah, it's very, I really do appreciate how it all looks. I mean, look at the nighttime view. But what I was trying to say with the different effects, your city will benefit from the effects, and then therefore you can balance out what you need, you know, maybe more income, maybe more efficiency, maybe less prone to diseases, all these kind of things. And that's very neat. As you can tell over here, all the different buildings have, again, a different radius and impact to the areas around. You need to build your typical resource chains and make sure that the distances between the things are not as too big. And then you also need productions for little carts that go from one to the other spot. As you can see over here, they're moving around. And the challenges I was talking about, you can also get from people. So in a second, I believe, if I recall that correctly, Keralis is talking to one of the citizens, and they have a task for the people. You can see there's also a tutorial in here. I left it in so you can see that they give you an idea for the attributes. I was just talking a lot about the attributes, and now you click on this wonderful person over here, and they do have a task, you know. Can you help us to our yearly event? And then you can say yes, no, or later. And then if you do yes, you apparently get something from it. If not, you will get a different task in the future. So these are the side quests to go further into your build. I love the fact that Keralis highlighted that so much in here to see where this is coming from. If you've played Anno in the past, obviously that's not too new for you, but seeing that this still is in is very good. So if you want to go for attributes or for other power-ups, so to say, always make sure to fulfill these challenges as well, because they will give you good impact. So you can see the island has grown now, and we talked a lot about the different things. You can also upgrade some of the buildings, and you can decorate. I needed to include that apparently, because the decoration is absolutely important. I know that Anno 1800 has been way better in that already, but now having the chance to be also diagonal, it gives you even more chances to build nice little plazas. And to be honest, Roman Empire makes a lot more benefit from it, because it is, you know, very likely that this is a very nicely styled city. They did have a lot of emphasis on beautiful architecture and plazas and decoration. So you can see already now in the state of the game, you quite have a lot of statues and different bushes and trees to make use of. And I am, as a beauty builder and someone who's loving to build and decorate, apparently I am in love. I'm absolutely in love with the fact that we can do this right away in the game. We don't need to wait for DLCs or so to get all the beautification stuff. And yeah, I mean, there is no surprise that Keralis also did do that. I'm so happy he did. I'm so glad he did. That's so good. I just watched the whole 3 hours of gameplay, and I was like, yes, he was doing so much of decoration. I will cut in a bit more of also later stages in a bit, so you can see what else is possible. And it's so beautiful, guys. It is so beautiful. Again, you've seen there was the pipette item. You still have the radial menu, a context-based radial menu, and it'll give you the option to copy-paste certain things. I also love the fact how he was putting the plaza in the Roman plaza, and it just fills in that gap. It's so cool. There you can see he's also putting down some trees now, and I love that the tree is coming with a bit of a grass grown through that on the ground. Such a nice effect over there. Really loving that. And you can then put down different trees. Over here you can see Keralis is doing that, and they have different sizes apparently, which is also cool. He's putting a bit of wildflowers, lavendel kind of flowers, or lavender, I don't know. But yeah, I was talking a bit more about the effects of the building, and here you can see this building, for example, has an effect of +2 fire safety. So if you put this building down, it'll add +2 fire safety. This one over here, as you've seen a little second ago, will add 2 happiness to your people. So within the radius, this has an effect on the fire safety now, which makes sense with that building. But this way, you'll be able to increase the safety of your city, increase the happiness of your city, increase the whatever is necessary. But yeah, so very nice how this all plays together. I'm a big fan of Anno 117 as of now, as of what I've been seeing, as of how the cities grow naturally, because how you do that. You can also see planned buildings, by the way, the whitish outlines, almost like a sketch. I'm a very big fan of that too. So these buildings require still some resources. I assume that was exactly what it is, but you can still put them down to plan out where it goes. So you can see that one isn't built yet, so at this point he was then moving it away because he wanted to do some like the building in there too. But yeah, it's, as I said, it's very, very nice to see, to fill in the gaps, fill in the spots. You can see now how the game looks. I have to say it is definitely the most beautiful Anno, which is it's not a given, you know, not every new game looks better. For the longest, I loved Anno 1404 the most. Even the 2 games after that, I never thought they were more beautiful, but then until 1800, which was my previous best, I think this one over here does do a great job too. And here you can see what I said earlier. The bakery is a thing that you will put into your cities now, rather into the production areas, because it has a positive effect on your people. But that also means that you need to bring the goods there. Plan that in. Also, as always, moving around with ships is important. You can see here is a map. The maps are relatively sizable, as you can see. They're quite big. And then if you go to certain areas, you will then also find, for example, the trader, which we're going to have a look at in a second. If you've played Anno, there you can see it. This is the trading area, a trader island. You can get there, get some goods. Specifically in the early game, this is important. But you can also get some attributes and some other cards from it. And we also need to talk about this ridiculously insane tech tree. The tech tree goes for the civic, military, and economic routes, and you can research so many things. It's way too much from just watching the videos to tell you every single bit. I believe, like, from everyone who I've watched, they all were saying that was way overkill for this event. They were trying to do their best, but this definitely needs a deep dive to understand which way to go. But I love the fact, because again, that will increase replayability in different sessions you have. And as the Endless game is one of the big Anno pluses, it's very good to have something like this, to go into different directions, you know, focus on military, focus on civic, focus on economics, and just make sure that you do it this way. You can see different research points will be applied, and then it takes a while and until you have then a different effect that you can apply. Sometimes you will get a different attribute you can apply. Sometimes this is automatically then put on all the productions effectively. So that makes a whole bunch of sense to have that. A very, very neat tech tree. And you can also see in another thing over here how big that is. I included just another area where Keralis went into that tech tree again. It goes all the way down. Unfortunately, Keralis didn't scroll down. I saw that in a different video, but I don't have the rights to show that one, so I'm sticking with what Keralis did. But you can imagine that this is at least 4 times as far down that you've seen in here. I also wanted to show you that you can build harbor areas. Again, you can use these piers, and they can also be built diagonal now. Not only straight or in a 90-degree angle, but you can make some very cool harbor areas where ships can, you know, move in. And you can see that there are now outlines to where you need to free the space, because ships will basically go there. So you need that to keep that open. You can see there is a little bit of a restriction how far you can go into the water. I'm not entirely sure if this is like in the old Anno, that if you have a second building there, that the radius becomes bigger. Would be nice to expand the harbor further into the sea, but it already looks very nice indeed. You can see different fisherman huts here. The design of the buildings is yet so much better, and you can also fortify. This game has more military involvement than other games of the Anno installment had in the past. So for those of you who like to have military, this looks really good already in game. I've seen some screenshots as well where they showed the whole garnisons, or how they called in the Roman time. Usually what Anno had a bit of an issue in the past is that they had very small armies only, like just a couple. Like if you had military stuff, there were just a few people fighting each other, which many people moaned about, that this is not super realistic. But in here, you have quite sizable armies, quite sizable divisions that make it very interesting to look at, but also very interesting, I assume, how the fight will go. I didn't talk about the ships too much. I haven't found too many good footages, but you can build ships and create them modular, as Roman ships used to be. So it's basically always the same base of a ship, But then you can also decide what kind of trade the ship. Is it more prone to delivery, then it has a bigger storage, or is it a military one, then it has a smaller storage and can house less people, but therefore has some things for military usage. So very nice. But now I want to leave you alone with a bit of gameplay, very much uncut, very much without my voice. So enjoy that one, and I'm giving you a conclusion in about 10-ish minutes.
I need a field to toil on.
Can you answer our prayers?
We heard a story about a curse. I advise you dispatch a scout to explore our surroundings. Information is power, Ere.
Something, Governor? On our way!
Alright, as promised, I will give you a little bit of a conclusion. This is the finished town that Keralis built during his PlayStation. I find it quite good how far he's come, you know, regarding the fact he's not played it before, and there is quite a lot of new stuff in this game. I am very happy for you, Keralis, how you did, but I'm also very happy that I was able to use it. Hopefully this little inside preview was interesting for you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit of a complicated thing because I haven't played it myself, so I needed to watch the video, and hopefully I'll give all things in a correct way. But nevertheless, I think this was a very good first glance at what this game is delivering. Hopefully in the future I can take part in some playtests or so as well, who knows, but I would love to, and then give you a bit more of an in-detailed look at how it functions and how it works. But I want to say the mega positive things is obviously the graphics and the level design, like the island design is absolutely killer. I think the graphics overall are killer. The day and night cycle is great. I love the styling of the buildings. They look fantastic. I like some of the new mechanics, how buildings have an effect on the citizens as well. I'm a big fan of that, but moreover, for what all the resource changes and chains and the different ways how these play into each other, I can't really tell too much about this. Beautification is the thing I am very happy about. But just in general, it looks very promising. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below if you want to play Anno, if you've seen some other videos as well. Maybe if I did a mistake, please tell me how it was correct and how it will be correct, because as I said, it's a bit harder to telling that from only the videos. But yeah, just let me know what you think about it, and I'll talk to you in the next one.